So the first question asks you to identify two chords and then two radii of circle P. So they're telling you some stuff right off. Circle P means that the center is P. So two chords. Let's try that again. Two chords. Two chords would be, for instance, BC and AE. Now please bear in mind AE is also a diameter, but don't forget that a diameter is a special type of chord. All it has to do is touch the circle at 2 points. The radii are a little bit different. They must all start at point P. The reason we know that is because, well, point P is the center. So PD is one radius. PE is another radius. Now these must be lines that are actually drawn in. So you can't say PC or PB because they're not actually connected. But PA is also. Now it said name 2. I happen to name 3 because there happen to be, well, 3 total. Area and circumference of a circle with a diameter of 7 inches. Be careful, it says diameter. This means that the radius is 3.5 inches. Now, you'll be given the formulas, but by now we know, hopefully, that area is equal to pi r squared. So in this case, it's pi times 3.5 squared. And you can write it as an exact answer or approximate. In the case of an approximate answer, you just take 3.5 and square it, and you'd get 12.25. 12.25 pi, don't forget the pi, it's kind of important, inches squared. It is a radius, so therefore make sure that you actually use square inches as your answer. Now in the case of the area with the radius of 3.5, that means 12.25 times pi. The approximate answer would be 38.48 square inches. It doesn't specify, so you could give either answer. Either one would work. Circumference, which we know to be 2 pi r, is pretty easy. That, remember, the radius is 3.5, so it would be 2 times pi times 3.5, which is 7 pi inches. So those are the units, and because it's a circumference, it's just plain old inches. And then 7 times pi is, if you want to go with the approximate answer, 21.99 inches. If you said 22 in that case, I'd understand. A 5-foot long chord is drawn in a circle with a radius of 8. How far is the chord from the center of the circle? So I'm going to draw a circle to illustrate this. That circle is going to have a center. I'm going to draw a chord, just like that. How far is the chord from the circle? Center of the circle. That would be this distance here measured at a right angle. So how far is the chord from the center of the circle would be this distance here, and that's what we're trying to find, so I'm going to call that x. What else do they tell us? It is a 5-foot long chord, so this whole thing is 5 feet. And we know that the radius is 8 feet. So if you look, I've gone out of my way to make a right triangle, but I need to remember that because this is perpendicular, it cuts this chord length in half. So the actual right triangle I'm playing with has a hypotenuse of 8 feet. That'd be the radius. We're trying to find this length here, the distance from the center to the chord. And this length here would be 2.5. That means then we can set this up as x squared plus 2.5 squared equals 8 squared. X squared plus 6.25 equals 64. X squared equals 64 minus 6.25 Welcome back, calculator. There we go. 64 minus is 57.75. And don't stop there because you still need to take the square root. And you'll discover that x is the square root, or sorry, the final answer is 7.599, or let's just say 7.6. And it says us feet, so we're going to say feet. So the final answer is 7.6 feet. Find unknown length where the radius is 3 and the chord has a length of 2. Similar situation. We know that the radius, that is if we were to connect the center, which the center's got to be here somewhere, right? And that would be 3. We know this chord is 2, which means each piece is 1, because it is indeed perpendicular here. Now x is this whole distance. And if you look carefully, part of that distance is the radius. So we know that that piece is 3 plus whatever this is. I've already used x, so let's call it y. So that means we're looking at a right triangle where the hypotenuse is 3. We're trying to figure out this leg, and this leg is 1. So we know that y squared plus 1 squared is 3 squared. Y squared plus 1 equals 9. Don't forget 1 squared is not 2. Y squared equals 8. Take the square root, and y is equal to the square root of 8, or right around let's call it 2.83. 2.83. This means that the unknown length, our x, is equal to 2.83 plus the radius over here, or 5.83 in the end. Graph. Make sure to label the radius and center of the circle. My advice is to figure out what the center of the circle is and the radius first, and then you can go ahead and graph it. I'll show you a couple different ways you can graph it. Now the radius is going to be a single number, and it's related to the square root of 16. That is the square root of what it's equal to, which is not 8 but 4. The center, x is, well remember it goes opposites, so the x is -3 and the y is, well, the opposite, or 2. So here's one acceptable way to do this. If you don't have graph paper, you could simply plot the points, make sure you get them in the right quadrants. For instance, -3, 2 would be somewhere over here. So let's say that's -3, and that's 2. And then what you could do is, well, you're still trying to make a circle. So the radius is 4. So if you go up 4, that would be 1. How far up would that be? Well, 2 plus 4 would be, go up to 6, right? And if you go down 4, you go down 2, and then another 2. That would mean down here at -2 would be the other part of the circle. Let's make that 3 look like 3. 3. That's a little bit better. Okay. Now, then going left to right, this is going to change the x values. If I went 4 that way, that would put that where? At +1. -3 to 0 would be 3 plus another 1. Now if I go -3 but I go back 4, because the radius is 4, then I end up at -7. So this way I'm plotting, and that way when I draw my circle in, that worked out pretty well. That would be one way to do it. Now another way to go would be to grab your grid, or get a piece of graph paper or something like that. If you don't have that, that's fine. You can still sketch it like I just did. -3, 2, back 3, up 2, and then you simply count. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you try to draw in a circle to the best of your ability, just like that. I'll assume, unless you say otherwise, that each of these grid points is 1 each.